and the Russian witch hunt. We got a whole big combination. Where is the collusion? You know, they're still looking for collusion. Where is the collusion? Find some collusion. We want to find the collusion.
Well, there you've got the president last night in West Virginia. He's going to be sitting down for an interview with our own Ainsley Earhardt later this morning at the White House. Good morning to you, Ainsley.
Good morning to you, Steve. Hey, Brian. Great to see y'all. Sorry I'm not there with you, but I'm excited about this interview.
Well,
lots of news going on.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you have a monitor right there, but you see Greg Jarrett. He doesn't look as good with this tie as opposed to the one he had on yesterday.
That's right.
But that's a whole nother story.
You going to give it back to me?
Soon. Soon. I'm talking to my people.
Why do you want it? Probably got pasta sauce all over.
No.
We've got lots of questions. Ladies first. Ainsley, what would you like to ask Greg about what happened?
Greg, my number one question this morning is Cohen changed his story. And yesterday, he's now saying that the president directed him to pay off these women. If that second story is true, then did the president do anything illegal?
No. There's two reasons why this is not an illegal campaign contribution. As long as there is a secondary or dual purpose, the law says it's not a campaign expense. So for the president, there would be personal and commercial reasons for paying money in exchange for a non-disclosure agreement. And the fact that he's done it in the past before he ever became a candidate only supports that argument. And second of all, in order to criminalize an illegal campaign contribution, which is normally a civil penalty, you actually have to show the law is very special on this for that statute. You have to show willful and knowing violation of the campaign laws. Most people don't understand campaign laws, including Barack Obama, who received $2 million in illegal campaign contributions. He paid a fine for it.
About $300,000, I understand. So Lanny Davis, the attorney and advocate for Hillary Clinton, but attorney for Michael Cohen, says this: if those payments were a crime for Michael Cohen, then why wouldn't they be a crime for Donald Trump? What's your answer to that?
Lanny Davis knows better than that because he's actually a very fine lawyer, although he is a Hillary Clinton acolyte and has been for a long time. The fact that a prosecutor in New York says this was a crime and under pressure Michael Cohen agrees to that doesn't make it so. It hasn't been litigated. There was no trial, no judge, no jury. So Lanny Davis's statement is very misleading and deceptive.
I heard a commentator on television last night talk about how in this plea agreement Michael Cohen made with the court system that essentially Donald Trump, who was referred to as the unnamed candidate, was an unindicted co-conspirator.
Yeah.
Ultimately, this could lead to him being an indicted co-conspirator. Is that possible?
Sure, an unindicted co-conspirator can always become one later. Nixon likely would have been had he not been pardoned by Gerald Ford. But that is also deceptive and misleading, and it's blatantly unfair to somebody to be labeled an unindicted co-conspirator for the reasons I just explained, that this really isn't a campaign violation, and it's certainly not criminal. So for somebody to suggest that the president will now be an unindicted co-conspirator is blatantly unfair.
Greg, what about the Mueller investigation and the Russia collusion? The president said yesterday this just proves there's no collusion there. But is Mueller going to be tempted, because this has cost a lot of money? Will he be tempted? I would hope not. But would he be tempted to try to find a crime, maybe try to find a reason for impeachment, just so that he can walk away and say, I got something, I did my job?
Sure, there's always a propensity among special counsels or independent prosecutors to try to justify their existence. This case has always been an investigation in search of a crime, which is backwards under the law, under the federal regulations. This was an illegitimate appointment. You must first state a crime specifically. Look at the authorization order for Mueller's appointment. There is no crime specified there. But that has not stopped Mueller from assembling a team of partisans to go after Donald Trump.
All right, let's talk about Paul Manafort now. What an hour it was for the president. The Manafort verdict comes in and the Michael Cohen deal becomes exposed. Paul Manafort found guilty of committing 8 crimes, 5 counts of false income tax return filing, 1 count of failing to report foreign bank accounts, 2 counts of bank fraud. So where does he go from here? He's looking at another trial in about 2 weeks.
Yes.
So where does he go from here? And someone in the Trump camp evidently worried that he now looking at 80 years in prison perhaps will start talking about things that Donald Trump doesn't want him talking about.
Well, I don't think he has anything incriminating to say about the president because Manafort was so briefly involved in the campaign and didn't know Trump before that. He was hired upon a recommendation. But what I worry about is what Judge T.S. Ellis stated publicly in his courtroom. He was the judge presiding over this trial. He said, you don't care about Manafort. You care about getting Trump. And you will compose.
Right.
And what does that mean? It means that prosecutors will write out a statement that may not be the truth and force a defendant to sign it.
Greg, before you go, one of the things that before the jury was dismissed, they said to the judge, T.S. Ellis, yesterday, do us a favor. Keep our names sealed because we don't want somebody knocking on our door saying, why'd you do that?
Right. Yeah, I've seen that in a lot of different cases. This has become so politicized and people's emotions are so inflamed. You don't want to do anything that's going to endanger the safety of these jurors who performed a great service, sacrificing their lives for 2 or 3 weeks. So you got to make sure they're safe. Don't disclose their names.
Ainsley, do you want to say goodbye to Greg?
Greg, it's great to see you. Thank you for saving Brian yesterday. If you weren't watching yesterday morning, Brian spilled coffee down his tie and had this little long dribble.
Right.
And we talked about it in the commercial. And we come on air, and Greg, at the end of his interview yesterday, calls Brian out on it. And it was so funny. And then he gave Brian his tie.
That's the key. Yeah, that's the Fox team attitude.
And where is
That's
that tie?
right.
That tie is an undisclosed location.
Greg,
Is it going to come out? Jillian tried to save you too.
Jillian?
She's